Hey, everybody. I'm Michael Ehline. I'm a lawyer licensed in Texas and California, and I've got a pretty cool show for you today. And we're going to talk about whether or not Trump can beat back the administrative state. As many of you know, a Manhattan jury on Thursday convicted Donald Trump. A Manhattan jury on Thursday convicted Donald Trump of 34 felony counts of falsifying business records related to a hush money payment scheme, apparently, to porn star Stormy Daniels back in October of 2016. And so Trump said Friday that he's going to appeal the conviction, and I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to try to do this from a neutral point of view, and from the approach of Locke and the Leviathan and Hobbes, and sort of a natural law perspective of what's going on. So you can sort of see it from a different point of view than what you're getting from for-profit media. Okay. I know a lot of people who follow me can't stand Trump. I know Chile doesn't like Trump, so I'm not trying to curry favor with anybody by posting this. I just want to give this as an example to some things that are going on out there. And I actually found, so I want to try to use some examples that I found out there from other people and influencers, what they have to say about it. And I think one of the top Democrat, sort of the liberal point of view would be this, let me see, what's his name? Stephen A. Smith. So I'm going to put him up here. So this is a video that I found from Stephen A. Smith, and this sort of, I think, is the Bill Maher perspective, probably the more sensible, old school Democrat point of view where they don't want to burn everything down with a flamethrower. And I just want you to hear what he's got to say, and we'll go from there.
Yesterday, former President Donald Trump was found guilty of 34 felony charges related to falsifying documents and a hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 election. A jury of 7 men and 5 women deliberated for nearly 10 hours before returning the guilty verdicts. It was the first time in U.S. history that a former president faced a criminal trial and now a conviction. Now, all of this is reportedly turned into a windfall of the presumptive GOP nominee, just like I told y'all it would. Trump's campaign says they've raised nearly $40 million since the conviction yesterday. He spoke today, blasting the conviction in front of Trump Tower in New York City. Here's what he had to say.
This is a case where if they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone. So I'm the leading person for president, and I'm under a gag order by a man that can't put 2 sentences together.
So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this story, is because we see a consistent, at least one side is arguing there's been a consistent weaponization of the government against Republicans, Christians, and stuff like that, and that this is just a continuum of that. And then you have the other side just saying, "Oh no, this is justice. We're just going after a bad guy, Trump." But the problem is at least half, it looks like, or more of the populace agrees that Trump is being politically targeted. And what Stephen A. Smith just said sort of corroborates that Democrats are feeling some of that heat. And so me trying to be more of a libertarian perspective, I'm looking at this more like from a natural law. You've got the great Leviathan that just wants to centralize everything. And then the outsider is sort of like natural law. And I guess that's the closest thing you would have here would be Trump, because he's the outsider and he's the guy who stood up for the Second Amendment, supposedly. I mean, I know a lot of you will say that he was against the bump stocks and things like that, and so he's against the Second Amendment, and I understand that. But nonetheless, the justices that he did get in there were very, very helpful with Second Amendment positions, and you've seen Alan Beck have a lot of success as a result of that, and in securing the rights of the citizens of Hawaii, for example. So I'm just going to say hi to everybody in the sidebar really quick. So, hey, what's going on, Christopher? Thanks for the ones. Give me a bunch of OTVOs, guys. Thanks for joining me on a Saturday. I know it's usually kind of dead in here, but what else are you going to do? I mean, a president actually just got found guilty a Republican president got found guilty in a super hardcore left-wing Democrat area of Manhattan, New York, by a super hardcore left-wing judge with a super hardcore left-wing daughter who raises money for Trump's political opponents and who actually made money by sort of fundraising off the fact that a president was being criminally prosecuted for this stuff. So it's like, wow, this is a soap opera, guys. So Kurt Bronson, thanks for joining me today again. OTVO, thanks Chevy for joining me. And like even all the Trump haters, you should all be joining me today, along with the Trump lovers, to stand in sort of solidarity with the fact that something doesn't look right. This doesn't pass the smell test, right? Like this guy's getting hit with all these prosecutions, but then Biden's done stuff where he didn't even have executive privilege and nothing happens to him. And the FBI comes out and says he's not cognitively capable of being able to understand the charges. Doesn't make sense, right? People are telling me this. So I had a request that I make this video to talk about whether or not Donald Trump has a chance. And so I have to make full disclosure. I'm not a New York lawyer. So I'm going to look at this from the perspective of, if I was a lawyer in California or Texas, or just general legal principles at times to sort of get an idea. And then I'll throw it out there. What I think, could this be going to the Supreme Court just based on what I know about jurisprudence in America? And I'll kind of explain to you the differences between the New York courts and how they're labeled. Like, for example, their Supreme Court is actually like a superior court in LA, that kind of thing. So I'll make sure you understand all that. And then I'll make sure that you understand the history of this case and what's going on, who the key players are on both sides, and why so many people are upset about the judge, and then the judicial complaints against the judge, and the problems with the daughter fundraising so closely with the Democrats who are actively engaged in trying to get Trump prosecuted, and how that presents an appearance of impropriety and those types of things. But you don't see me here saying, go Orange Man or anything like that. I'm just saying this presents a teachable moment for you guys. Some dude who's unpopular, think about that, gets hit with 21 felonies or something. And whether he's guilty or not, the fact remains that a large portion of America believes that he was targeted politically. And a large portion of America on the Democrat side agree that he was targeted politically. And I think some people are waking up to the reality that this could be used against them in the future. And I think that's why cooler heads prevailed in past times where we didn't see so much political targeting. But then we saw starting under Obama, really a massive influx in political targeting. It sort of got nipped in the bud under Nixon and then came back strong under Obama and never really stopped. It took off like wildfire in the government administrative agencies, leading up to Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Lois Lerner, and none of these people ever get in trouble. They get jobs at CNN or something. And so the problem is there's a huge portion of America now who thinks there's like a two-tiered system of justice. If you're a traditional guy who likes to have a gun and stuff like that, you don't get the justice of the guy who went to Harvard or Columbia or whatever all these places are called. That's what I hear from a lot of people and a lot of my clients who have left California. Hey, what's going on, man? What's going on, Ralph? Good seeing you, buddy. Hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that like and subscribe button. Yeah. So now the next thing that I'm going to show you is this is our great leader. Let me make sure that he shows up. Okay, so this is great leader Biden, and he is I guess the Democratic Party frontrunner for president. He's out there, and this is what he's got to say about Trump and his guilty verdict.
The American principle that no one is above the law was reaffirmed. Donald Trump was given every opportunity to defend himself. It was a state case, not a federal case, and it was heard by a jury of 12 citizens, 12 Americans, 12 people like you. Like millions of Americans who served on juries, this jury is chosen the same way every jury in America is chosen. It was a process that Donald Trump's attorney was part of.
Okay, so you got the message. So I just want to, this is, so one of my viewers, I just want to throw this up there for you. So I couldn't help myself. Excuse me, I just lost my mind just for a minute. Steve Martin, excuse me, just lost my mind, but just for a minute. Wow. All right, so here's the reality. In this area in Manhattan is an all Democrat jury pool, pretty much, and we know that New York is the most hardcore among Democrats, probably Manhattan, anyways, right up there with probably San Francisco, right? So, and we know that in a lot of cases, in gun cases, you want to have them at the Fifth Circuit. You want to, you always want to have your case brought in an area that is politically favorable to whatever the cause is that you're serving. That's just how it always is. And, a lot of people recognize that a lot of Democrat judges are very partisan, and that can be evidenced by the Ninth Circuit and how they rule on the Second Amendment all the time. So there's no question that there's a lot of politics involved here, but I just wanted you to see that there's an all Democrat jury pool. So it's not necessarily what he's saying is not necessarily 100% right on the money there, but because I want to bring some clarity to what's going on, because so far all I see is just this, orange man bad and all this. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, this sounds like Robespierre when they killed the king of France, and then Robespierre, the Great Terror, when they were guillotining everybody. That's what it reminds me of. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not good. These people have like a bloodlust, especially people on social media. They just get this bloodlust where they just want to go after people and try to hurt them. People they don't even know, and it's pretty bad. It's almost like they're so unhappy with themselves, they want to hurt others. And so now, April Rain, thanks for joining me. And let's look. So who do we vote for? Save Man, Woman, Peace. So Save Man, Woman, Peace says, who do we vote for? Well, I'll leave that up to you guys, who you're going to vote for. But what I want to talk about is the administrative state and how terrifying it will now be for a lot of people to even want to try and run for government, because now they're going to face a bunch of administrators, a bunch of bureaucrats who've made all their money in government, who've never actually had real jobs or actually had to struggle in the real world. In many cases, got put to the front of the line so they could get into these top institutions and ended up in law and became judges at some point. And then ultimately became politicians, or in some form or another. That was the avenue of approach, the avenue of attack for their claim to fame. You see people getting into politics with a couple $100 in their bank accounts, coming out with $20 million in their bank account a little bit later in these poor areas. And you're just wondering what the heck is going on, right? So what, right. So Classical One says, red or blue, they don't give a F about you. I ain't voting for either one. And that's what a lot of people say. And so I just hope, and then Watkins Inc. says it's treason. And that's what I want to hear is everybody's opinion about this. I'm going to withhold any type of judgment on the parties other than to try and do my best job to present information. And so bear with me, because I want to take a look and see if there's anything else that I missed that maybe I could share with you. But pretty much those were the videos I wanted to see. I wanted you to see that. Now let's go through my slideshow, because I spent some time with my kiddos putting this together. And again, this is about a hush money case where allegedly Trump wanted to cover up the fact that he was getting it on with a porn star, apparently. And so some business records had to be falsified, I guess, to do that. And they couldn't be charged as a misdemeanor because misdemeanors would have the statute of limitation. So if they had been charged as misdemeanors, the statute of limitations would have expired. So they couldn't have gotten him for that. And so nobody's seriously tried. So basically, the gist is they're trying to say that Trump tried to doctor business records because he was running for president or going to run for president, and he knew that hush money payments to a porn star would make him look bad. And because of that, that was doctoring records and election interference in a nutshell. If I got that wrong, tell me, guys. Again, I'm not a New York lawyer, but I think that that's my understanding of it. But if you got something else to say, I want to know, obviously. Now, hi, Gloria. Great seeing you. I know a lot of people who don't vote and who don't bother registering. I get all that. But I, for one, am really happy about the Second Amendment decisions that came down the pike recently. So I guess, and of course, that recent March 4th report. Thanks, Chevy. Thank you so much, man. You rock, dude. Chevy just throw me a $10 family fund. Now I'm going to take my kids out for to Dave's and Buster's, I think. Yeah, that is so cool, man. You're so awesome, Chevy. Hold on, let me see what Ralph says. Hey, Jarhead, you know about continuity of operations. Do you know the law of war manuals? Put a couple of brain cells together and you can figure this shit out. Yeah, well, I already know what's going on, but I think most people are waking up to what's happening out there. But I want to lay some things out for people because honestly, the for-profit media is not giving the story the justice that it needs. They're not really covering what's going on. So I'm asking here is the fix in? The fix is in or what? And basically, they're trying to say that this was part of an illegal scheme to use $130,000 of Trump's money to keep information from voters and unlawfully influence the 2016 elections. And then Trump said, this is crazy, the political bias of the jurors, like a bunch of lawyers, I guess, on the jury. And of course, they're all probably hardcore left-wing Democrats. And that's why the Democrats were so happy about Ashley Babbitt that the case was going to be in D.C. But then somehow or another, Tom Fitton was able to get that case removed to San Diego. And now Ashley Babbitt, that case might have a chance. So put a bunch of ones in the comments if you know about the Ashley Babbitt case. That wrongful death case might have a chance now that it's been filed in pro-veteran, more conservative San Diego, California. It's like one of the last bastions of pro-veteran areas in California. It's really great. Really beautiful place. I was stationed at Camp Pendleton, and I used to live in Ocean Beach, Pacific Beach, Mission Beach, all those areas, and just couldn't get enough of the surfing at Trestles and San Onofre. What an awesome place, guys. Wow. So anyways, Trump said Mother Teresa could not even beat these charges with this jury. And sure enough, a jury convicted him on all 34 felony counts. Thank you, April Rain. I appreciate that super sticker. You guys are so awesome and kind, always supporting my channel. And I noticed that we're starting to hover around 40 to 50 people, when it's not chili stuff. And then when I talk about chili, we get more audience, which is to be expected. But I'm glad that the key people who really care about their country have stayed, because I spend a great deal of time and research to put these things together. And it's very time consuming and can be stressful at times, especially when people put out a bunch of misinformation about you that's not even true, or try to cut your life apart and chop up little snippets and come up with nonsense. It's just wild to me. So let's see here. Now, I'm going to get into that right now. Michael, did you look into the parameters the judge set for the jurors? Yeah, I'm going to get into the jury instructions and some other things for sure, man. Hey, by the way, I don't agree with YouTube guides, blah, blah, blah. Jerry's are not selected, but for your peers, they're rigged. Well, I don't know. Some people say that. I definitely have a problem. I would much prefer to keep my case away from a jury and away from the judge and find a way to reason with the other side, because I think that's the best way to resolve things. That's the true art of good lawyering. Sometimes you'll have no choice when there's not a question on liability, but there's a question on damages, for example, and you just can't agree. Your client deserves more money. So you got to move forward, and those are rare cases, and more, there's other ways the cases are resolved. But this is a criminal matter. And so in this case, unlike the other conviction, not a conviction, but the other finding of liability in another New York case, gosh, man, a lot of New York cases. In that other case, we had another partisan Democrat judge and another partisan Democrat Soros prosecutor. There's a formula here, and that's what people are telling me, and they don't like it. That's why a lot of people don't buy the verdicts and they don't buy the outcomes, because they feel that it's rigged. I'm just sharing this with you. You can call these people conspiracy theorists, but it's not going to heal the nation. And now my fear is that when conservatives or Democrats, Republicans get into power, they're going to weaponize these same agencies and do the same crap. And that's just a waste of my tax dollars. And it's a bad example for our kids. It's already bad enough that law enforcement has the right to lie to people. That is just a terrible example for our country, that police are allowed to lie to people. That's unacceptable to me. And I want all you to join me by giving me a bunch of ones that it's unacceptable that law enforcement has the legal right to lie to people. Give me a bunch of ones that you think that that's a terrible thing. So let's get on. Thank you, guys. Thank you, April. Thanks, Lenny Molly. Oh, wow. Thanks, Ralph Riley. Ralph just threw me. Yes. We're going to talk about judicial misconduct in a second too, guys. Now, keep in mind that I'm trying to be lawyerly about this and present this from more of a neutral perspective. But you got to know that I always root for the little guy, the guy that's under attack by the government, because they've got unlimited resources. So I'm always going to go after, and I'm always going to support the little guy. It's my nature. I can't help it. I can't help it, man. Can't help it. Gotta support the little guy, man. Oh, aye. That's right, man. That's right. That's right, Watkins Inc. Aye. Okay, mate. Did you guys know I used to live in Motherwell, Scotland? It was really a great place. Okay, so we're going to talk really quick. I want to breeze through this so you can see my point of view, because I want you to see that I think deeper than just a news story. So John Locke was an amazing natural law, Age of Enlightenment thinker. And he is sort of known as the father of natural law. And he came along, I think he was English, but he came along around the same time as the Scottish Enlightenment period. Around that time, and of course, we know that the Scots really they had major influence on liberty in this country. And I went through a lot of their old castles and I went to Edinburgh Castle and got to see a lot of Stirling Castle and got to see the whole country, Hadrian's Wall. What an amazing place. And so I got to see firsthand, a lot of these old documents, got to go to old libraries. What an amazing, wow. Anyway, so Hobbes was sort of the deep state guy, the administrative state guy, whereas Locke would be more like the Trump guy, like more the natural law guy. I'm not saying by any means Trump is a natural law guy. I already know you're going to correct me, so I'll just say it. Trump was always a liberal Democrat until he became a Republican. He governed to a large degree like a liberal Democrat, right? Deficits went through the roof, but he did secure the border better than anyone else in the past 50 years. And there was pretty decent economic prosperity, say many. And there was a sense that we weren't going to be going to war anymore or getting engaged in any of these overseas money laundering shenanigans with these countries, over there in the Eastern treatises of government. Got it. Got the mic check. Locke wrote the two treatises of government, and basically he was forced to publish the two treatises anonymously. That's right. We're going to talk about that, Lenny. That's right. And so, because it was bad for your health to even talk about freedom or liberty back in 1690. And then, of course, Sir William Blackstone, he's the guy that Abraham Lincoln, and I also read law from Blackstone's commentaries. This is part of the foundation of my legal education. And it's the same way most lawyers, prairie lawyers in particular, in the Old West became attorneys. And Blackstone's commentaries on the English law, I recommend that you all read it. But he talks about the absolute rights of every Englishman. And of course, those rights were inherited by us because we are, by our heritage, Englishmen. And as a result of Locke, the laws of nature and of nature's God were mentioned in our unanimous declaration when we finally sought total independence from the despotic Leviathanic king, that centralized control, that centralized planner that our founding fathers, most of our founders, didn't want. We know there were some that did want centralized control. We know there was federalism. We know there were battles, but we know that most of our founders, even federalism by those standards back then, would be considered a right-wing radical by today's standards, right? Think about that. So anyways, Locke was mentioned, and his opinions and thoughts were mentioned in the Declaration. We know that Jefferson was a big fan. Holy crap, Chevy. Thank you for the green belt. Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming on with me on a Saturday too, because I know you guys have better things to do, but I don't have better things to do. I'd rather be here talking to you. It's whatever. I guess my buddies in Texas say it's raining. Hey, let me just look in the sidebar here. So not only can they lie, that's right. Lenny Molly says not only can law enforcement lie, but they have no reason to protect you. That is true. And I did a video about that, about how law enforcement, as a general rule, has no duty to protect you. And I talk about the limited cases where they do. And I actually am involved with trying to help the mother who had her kids taken away, who rescued her kids when the Uvalde police in Texas did nothing and acted like cowards. And she hopped the fence and rescued her kids while the police tried to stop her. Think about that. So let's get back really quick into Trump in this case. So hopefully you've had a chance to read this. Let's get on. So then we had the American Bill of Rights in 1791. And of course, we know that the Bill of Rights incorporated the ideas of John Locke, and that civil society was created for the protection of property. And that is the basis of all freedom, is property, that you can own things, that you can build wealth and generational wealth to look after your family and your people and build that like your own country, your own little mini country. And the only time you really needed government was as a safety net. And back then it was clearly the government's job was to protect you from disputes like contract problems, any kind of overseas issues, resolving international problems with trade, right? So that's why we had to have a Navy. That's why the Navy is the only thing that's authorized under the Constitution to exist more than 2 years. That's why we have an appropriations bill every year to reauthorize the Army. I say, I need you guys to get educated so you can learn about your country. So let's move on. Now, the other side, the side that stands against Trump, is the World Economic Forum side. And in 2024, they're more the Leviathan side. And they say that Homo sapiens have no natural rights, just as spiders, hyenas, and chimpanzees have no natural rights. But don't tell that to your servants, lest they murder us at night. Yuval Noah Harari, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. So this is what the what you would call the progressive side says, that humans have no natural rights. And so this is the battle, again, between the king, who never wanted his servants or the peasants to have rights, and then, of course, the natural right theorists like the parliamentarians, right, who believe that they had the same rights that the king had. And so you see these billionaires, they've sort of taken on the role, again, to anoint themselves as kings. And, of course, they've got power, they've got money. So all we are to them is chimpanzees, hyenas, or spiders. That's like a Freudian slip. I mean, give me a bunch of ones if you think that was a Freudian slip. Let me look in the comments, because I'm sure I sparked a few people. Let me take a look. Don't forget about the Wounded Knee Massacre. Ruby Ridge. Yeah, I know about all that stuff, Lenny. But I want to stay as on point as I can about natural law and the Leviathan as we segue into this appeal, because I want you to understand that this is an ancient and historic battle between centralized control and then the other people who want less control. They want to have more of their own control over their own lives. So that it would be the WEF globalists. We know that they hate Donald Trump and they want mass illegal immigration. And we saw that they were doing that in Europe and using their funding from all their billionaire nonprofits to do that. And as soon as Biden got elected, he reversed all of Donald Trump's executive orders to tell the illegals to shelter in place and try to find a legal pathway. And as soon as Biden got elected, one of his first actions was to reverse all of Trump's executive orders. And then apparently 20 million or more illegal aliens have come across with the help of tax-funded nonprofits, just like they were doing in Europe. So many people are saying that it's the same group of people, George Soros, Klaus Schwab, the World Economic Forum, and they're paying off all these politicians, Republicans and Democrats. I mean, many people say Greg Abbott is one of them. And that's why he's busing these illegals to Democrat cities to help Democrats, because every time you send a busload of illegals, it helps split their jurisdictions. It helps create more representatives, right? It helps increase representation through the census. That's how you do it, with body count. You don't have to be a citizen, and they know that. And that's one of the main ways they took California, according to many experts, by using the illegal alien body count with the census. And then, of course, we know their offspring can vote. And if their parents are receiving government assistance, they're probably not going to vote Republican. And that's what Elon Musk is saying. And so a lot of people are saying that this is really the World Economic Forum doing a lot of this stuff to Donald Trump. And I'm just putting that out there because I don't see it covered very much in the mainstream or the for-profit media. Now, let me look in the sidebar and see what my audience has to say. Yes, Lenny, you have inherent God-granted rights. That is the argument of the natural law. That is where the Bill of Rights came from. So to say that people who say that are crackpots and conspiracy theorists sort of lays our whole Constitution and Bill of Rights on its head, lies it on its head. I don't know if I said that right. Put it in the comments. I don't want to get accused of using bad grammar. Grammar police may get me. So that's right. And Watkins says, I think they're afraid of Donald Trump. And obviously they are. And the guy obviously seems like he could come unhinged pretty quickly. My dad read his book and sort of looked up to him in the 80s. And then when he met him and Trump wouldn't shake his hand, and he kind of seemed like a fish, like a dead fish to my dad. He still had some respect for him, but he lost a great deal of it. And he just thought the guy was really a brash jerk. But ultimately, before he died, he did mention that he felt like he was the only chance that we had is if we wanted to preserve the Second Amendment. So he did mention that. And he probably was right about that. Now, let's get into a little bit more about this case. Now, Trump's new legal troubles as president, as the presidential forerunner, are still, well, they're new to, these are new in that these are the ones he hasn't been convicted of. So I should have probably worded it better. But basically, he probably won't face trial on these other cases, but he's got the Georgia state election interference case, and then a federal election interference case, a federal classified documents case, and he'll probably appeal those cases too. And we all know they're all brought by Democrats, and it's all Soros prosecutors, and it's pretty obvious to most people that these are political persecutions, and it makes a lot of people really worried about where this country's headed. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video today, to see what you have to say. What do you guys have to say about this? Do you think this makes America a more divided republic or a more united republic? And do you think that there's a two-tier justice system? Like, for example, why is it that the FBI lets investigations against Democrats go for over 3 years in criminal matters, and mysteriously the statute of limitations always expires? I mean, after a while, don't you think people on the left and on the other side, don't you think that looks sort of improprietous? That's all I'm asking. I'm not trying to say you're bad people or whatever, but after you do it enough and people get wise to it, it kind of makes you look corrupt. I'm just telling you, it's not a good look. Not a good look for the country. Now, good seeing you, Brick Jonesy. Naturalized rights. I love that. Now, so ethics problems with Judge Merchan. So you guys we were talking about this a little while ago. So Judge Merchan is an acting Supreme Court justice in New York. So I want to throw something out there for my audience that are not Easterners and are not as educated as some of y'all in the sidebar here. But in New York, the Supreme Court is basically like their superior court, or I guess your justice court, maybe your municipal court. So something more like that along those lines. And so he's basically like a superior court judge, and he oversaw and oversees criminal cases, and this is one of them. But he's also known to be, to many, what many call a hardcore Democrat Party activist in New York state politics. And this is an unprecedented criminal trial stemming from charges brought by a Soros, what many say is a Soros bought and paid for prosecutor, Alvin Bragg. Hey, Ralph Riley, these are two government factions in play. You have the Republic and you have the fictitious corporate. I appreciate what Ralph is saying. And, the bottom line is, unless we can convince courts to go along with that and convince the public to change their way of thinking with classical education and learn about their natural rights, no one's going to take anyone seriously. And that's why I always teach you guys nonviolence, and I teach you to avoid arrest at all costs and still exert your rights to the fullest extent. And so one of the things that I want to get to real quick here, guys. Yeah, Bruce Wayne says they're corrupt. And that's the problem is let's OTVO. Yes, Gloria. Good seeing you. Yeah, Lenny Malley says that these cases will probably be thrown out. And I think that's probably true. Now, the Democrats, like, CNN, MSNBC, basically 90% of the news media say that this is a slam dunk because it's New York. There's no way, kind of tongue in cheek, that they know that all the judges are Democrats and that there's no way that an appeal can win on the state level. And, they may be right. I mean, that's why Republicans are terrified of bringing claims in DC and New York and in some parts of California. Now, and I know that from my professional experience as a lawyer. I mean, I'm not just like making this up out of thin air. You choose where you want to bring some cases based upon how the jury might end up. And in this case, Manhattan is the ultimate Democrat stronghold, almost as hardcore as DC. All right, Chevy. Yeah. Family governor wife. Yeah. I don't know if I can run for governor. I don't know that I'm the guy, but I think Chili could. I wouldn't. I don't know. I'll think of some other ways that I think that I can help more by helping build parallel systems with people like you when it comes to things like homeschooling, homesteading, parental and family rights, and trying to rewrite a new chapter in history where we have less government and we delete laws instead of passing more. And I think we need to re-educate people to start thinking about divesting power from billionaires, divesting the ability of politicians to be able to invest in anything or their family members, because we see that Pelosi, she's worth $500 million. That's ridiculous, guys. That's totally unfair. There's no way. Now we know they have a stock market channel where, if you can buy, they tell you how to buy the same stocks the politicians are doing it when they're doing it, so you can get rich too. I mean, that's just over the top. That's just not the America that our founders wanted, I don't think. It's not the America my father wanted. He wanted fairness for everybody, and he was willing to die for it as a Marine. So let's get into Judge Merchant. Now, Judge Merchant is a hardcore left-wing political activist, as is Alvin Bragg, say many. Now, his daughter is also a hardcore leftist, and she raises money for John Tester, Kamala Harris, and Adam Schiff. And she's raised money and has been raising campaign money based upon getting Trump convicted. So think about that. Her father's overseeing this. It just blows my mind that this was allowed to even happen. Only in New York, right? It reminds me of that movie Gangs from New York or whatever. Now, so she's the president of Authentic Campaigns. How convenient, right? A group that represents Democrat politicians, and they've been fundraising again off Trump's indictment and criminal trial. And so I just want to show you. So doesn't that have the appearance of impropriety? I mean, whether you hate Trump or love him or whatever, I mean, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, I'm not saying orange man good or orange man bad. I'm just saying, doesn't that look kind of unfair? Just think about it. That's all I'm saying. What do you guys think? Hit that like button. Let's OTVO. Thanks, man. And thank you, Let's OTVO, for helping me out with moderating. The trolls were just out of control. Like there's a whole genre that was created based upon hatred of Chili DeCastro and delete laws. And I guess by extension, since I help him in some legal matters and kind of help him with his channel while he's locked up, that makes me the enemy too. So a total disinformation campaign and lies about me as well. It's just like, wow. I totally get it, how everything just can be so crazy. So in this particular case, Trump had asked that this judge recuse himself. He's like, this is like one of these social media sites where everybody's attacking me. And in this case, it's the judge and his daughter and all the campaign people. And they're just trying to gaslight me. And that's how he feels. And so he tried to get the judge to leave, but the judge said, I don't see any reason to leave. So a New York's bar ethics warning was issued to the judge. Apparently, through Representative Elise Stefanik. And the New York State Commission on Judicial Conduct privately cautioned Judge Merchant in July over his illegal, apparently political donations to Biden and the Democrats in 2020. And this is buttressed by testimony or a statement from Representative Elise Stefanik. Now, again, you don't hear any of this stuff on CNN or even on Fox News. And that's why I want you guys to see, like, this doesn't look right. It doesn't pass the smell test. I don't care what your political party is. And me, as being more of a libertarian, I'm thinking this is bad. This is really bad that somebody who works for the government has this kind of power over you. A public servant has more power than a regular Joe. It's not right to me. Now, here's the deal at Target too, because he supports Chile. That's probably true. I think anybody who supports freedom fighters is going to take a lot of flack, and there apparently is a whole genre dedicated to going after people who support the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, and they mischaracterize the things that they say. But I just think that the people who follow me here know that I just care about America and the Constitution, and I want to educate you so you can take back some of your rights that have been taken from you. And I want you to become the most educated thinkers and critical skills operators when it comes to critical thought than you were before you met me. And if I can do that, then I will have done my mission with God to help educate somebody and pass on some of the gifts that I was given from birth on, and the ability to have that still trap mind and think outside the box. So it appears that she's saying, this Stefanik is saying, that this is driven by Democrat partisanship and financial gain for his daughter. And she's saying that it's imperative that New York and New Yorkers have confidence that justice is being dispensed. And we know that the only people who really think that justice is being dispensed are Democrat activists. People who are in the middle of the road, like swing voters, overwhelmingly think that Trump got screwed here. They think that he was politically targeted. And this is the problem. Oh my gosh, thank you again, Ralph. The nature and cause was never read into the record. We're going to talk about that too. Now, what he's talking about is you have to be advised as to the nature and the cause of the action. And that has also been further expanded in the 14th Amendment, that you have the right to be able to prepare an adequate defense by knowing what the hell's going on. And so in this case, as we'll talk about further down in the slideshow, Trump didn't have that based upon what the record is saying. And we're going to get into that. But first, I want to lay a foundation about who the judge was. In this case, we know the judge, apparently, based upon a CNN article, donated money in plain violation of a rule prohibiting New York judges from making political donations to a pro-Biden, anti-Trump political operation. You got this? And we know his daughter does that for a living. I mean, are you kidding me if that doesn't show bias? I mean, come on, guys. Wake up. Come on. Now, we know that Alvin Bragg, also a prosecutor, boasted, just like that other one did, Letitia, in the other case, the civil case against Trump, about how they were going to get Trump and sued him a bunch of times. Just like, give me a break, guys. Wow. I mean, the fact that this even got where it was or was allowed to proceed is unbelievable to many. Now, even CNN agrees that, most importantly, the DA's charges against Trump push the outer boundaries of the law and due process. Okay. CNN also says they were tailor-made to prevent Trump from running. The charges against Trump are obscure and nearly entirely unprecedented. In fact, no state prosecutor in New York or Wyoming or anywhere has ever charged federal election laws as a direct predicate state crime against anyone or anything for that. None, ever. 5, the DA made misdemeanors felonies to defeat statutes of limitations rules. The DA inflated the misdemeanors, passed the statute of limitations, and electroshocked them back to life by alleging the falsification of business records was committed with intent to commit another crime. The DA failed to prove it, and the judge let it slide. So this is where, Ralph, here we go. Okay, everybody pay attention. Hold on one second. This is where Ralph Riley's comment becomes very relevant to the conversation. Inexcusably, the DA refused to specify what the unlawful means were and the judge declined to force the DA to pony up and prove what the unlawful means were until right before closing arguments. So much for the constitutional obligation to provide notice to the defendant of accusations against him in advance of trial. And that is his appealable issue. You can't, at closing arguments, finally give the defendant notice of what the charges really were. Because we know that it was basically a hodgepodge of a bunch of stuff, and it was done for political reasons, say so many experts, that it's hardly even worth arguing that it wasn't. I mean, it's just, to be an honest person, there's no way you can agree that this was not a political show trial. You just can't. Say many. Obviously, I could never say that because I wouldn't want to disparage anyone. Now, Ralph Riley, Gunner, in your super chat post. Yes, I will. Okay. So that's because Gunner means battle warrior in Swedish. And it probably, they probably think it has to do with firearms. And we know that YouTube they're not exactly pro Second Amendment. So I don't think we're getting any brownie points for saying anything about that. So yeah, look how many so Lenny Malley says, look how many of them are lawyers up there on Capitol Hill. We are not supposed to have lawyers according. Well, that's not necessarily true. We're supposed to have lawyers. We're just not supposed to have people with titles of nobility, but we can get into that in another time. Having lawyers is actually a smart thing as long as they're lawyers for the people. And there are times when you are hamstrung by your license, and we can get into that in another conversation. But right now, just know that I stand for the common man and we the people and your kids, and the ability for you to have less government involved in your life and more personal freedom and more time to devote your time to educate your kids outside of the government system, and to create your own parallel systems where you can be around like-minded people and you don't have to conform yourself or be forced like the big billionaire corporations want. They have to force themselves to conform to you as the consumer. Let's think about that. Let's turn it around like judo, baby. All right. So basically, what's going on is, what Ralph is saying is they didn't provide proper notice to Trump. So that could be an issue. Now, bespoke. In these key respects, the charges against Trump aren't just unusual. They're bespoke, seemingly crafted individually for the former president and nobody else. And then, of course, we have, and forgive my typos. It's my fault for not coming back and correcting this stuff. Don't hold it against them, guys. Just work with me here. This will be a fast one today, I hope. So basically, the Manhattan DA's office, we know from because not everybody there's a hardcore lefty. There might be one or two semi-Republicans that work somewhere in the government in New York. But somehow we were able to find out that the Manhattan DA's employees reportedly have called this a zombie case because of the various legal infirmities, including its bizarre charging mechanism, cobbled together, characterizing it as a Frankenstein case. And they're saying it has ill-fitting parts and it's ugly, it's awkward, but more or less functioning. It's a contraption ultimately made to turn, but it may ultimately turn on its creator. So, and then now this is what I'm hearing from a lot of my viewers, and that's why everybody's telling me, look, I didn't want to make this video because it's not really about like auditing and the First Amendment, but it is about a person who has a really bold, brash personality who a lot of people think are arrogant. A lot of people think he's an alpha. A lot of people hate him. So it kind of fits in line with the kind of people I represent for a living. So I figured I would talk about it anyway. So I would go for it because I was encouraged by people in my paid group as the contributors. So I put quite a bit of time into this. So I hope y'all like it. But anyways, a lot of people are saying this is just politics masquerading as justice. They're saying that whether Trump can win his appeal, you got to understand the appellate process. And that's basically what the experts are saying, and regardless of all the partisanship and the hatred, that may come out in a bar investigation later. But honestly, New York, I think their state bar is probably 90% left wing too. I think it's so politically charged right now against Trump. He's the boogeyman. There's so many billions of dollars against him with all these people like Soros who hate his guts, like Bill Gates who hate his guts, people like Fauci who risk prison if Trump gets elected. There's a lot of trouble coming down the pike here. Now, so can Trump overturn his felony convictions? Well, by the way, I look at Trump doing massive presidential pardons of white collar and marijuana related. Mark my words. I'm already hearing from a lot of my buddies who are black guys who are in the Marine Corps saying, Mark, they're telling me, watch, he's going to get every single black vote. Every black male vote is going to vote for Trump. He's going to release, because he already did a bunch of pardons for black people last time, which CNN and everyone swept under the rug. That's the other issue I have, is that when someone does good, you should give them credit. And he never got credit for any of the good that he did. And that always kind of made me like suspect, like, these people they don't have anything good to say. And the guy did a lot of good things, keeping that southern border protected. That was good stuff, man. Give me a bunch of ones if you liked it that we didn't have 20 million people in our country who have no idea who they are. All right. So basically the grounds for appeal are not about re-arguing the case, but errors made in the trial's procedure. Well, basically that's kind of is what it is. There's other issues, abuse of discretion on things. It's also about legal precedents. A lot of pundits who are anti-Trump say there's no chance. This is state court. These are all Democrat judges anyways. It's in the bag. There's no chance for judicial review. And appellate courts typically make the original judge's findings about the factual determinations that they typically accept those as valid and true. And then public perception is the big problem here. Is we know that probably more than half the country thinks that it's a total scam, that these are BS convictions. The only people who really believe it are people who work for Facebook or Instagram and maybe the FBI, CIA, and the other administrative agencies who hate Republicans. Maybe the IRS, right? The ones who are constantly targeting people on the right. Say many. So what about the 25th Amendment and Supreme Court involvement? So what would happen if Trump got thrown in jail? If that did happen, and it could, if he got elected, the 25th Amendment would allow the vice president to assume his powers. Now, this could create a problem, though. This could create an issue where, the vice president sends in the Marines to get Trump out of jail. I mean, don't put that past. This is slowly becoming a constitutional crisis. So let me look in the sidebar. Hey, Kevin, thanks for the ones, buddy. Hey, April Rain. Thanks for the ones, Jody. Thank you. Brick Jonesy, learn the social contracts. Yes. Let's OTVO. Now Let's OTVO says Trump walks. I don't know that he's going to walk, buddy. I think that, but we're going to find out. I'm trying to be neutral on this so I could present this from an unemotional point of view. One party is going to say we took down a rich man. Yeah, that's right. It's just all scary because they're all coming for you. Yeah, that's right, Kurt. And I appreciate it that you guys follow Max. I mean, many would say that Biden is an unconvicted felon and that all of his friends and wealthy buddies, his political elite pals, that they're all a bunch of criminals who just control the law enforcement agencies. And that's the problem, is so many people have lost faith in our justice system that it's almost like, really? I mean, that's what happens when you target political candidates, guys. And now people are looking at us like we're a banana republic. Give me a bunch of ones if you think this makes America look like a banana republic. It's insane. Now, here's how it works. First court or second court. That's what I put up there. So if Trump were to lose on appeal, that would be at the first department appellate division. Okay. So that's what they call it in New York. So they go from Supreme Court to first department appellate court, and then it goes to the Court of Appeals. And that Court of Appeals would be in California, what our California Supreme Court is. Give me a bunch of ones if you understand the difference now. Hopefully you learned something today about the difference between the New York court system and how they classify and name their courts and their prospective roles in other states who typically their highest courts are going to be the Supreme Court. So hopefully you guys learned something today. Right on, Ghost Man. I love it. Hey, look, man, we're at 54 people. That's pretty cool. I saw it get up to almost 60, which is pretty impressive. So make sure, by the way, to like and subscribe and share this with your friends. So this doesn't have a bad appearance, okay? The ethics problems with this judge look really bad, guys. I mean, this Representative Stefanik argued that there's a clear conflict of interest. I mean, his daughter has a major financial stake in this unprecedented criminal trial, and she did. And this is a straightforward violation of section 100.3 sub E sub 1 sub D sub, I can't see the rest, which requires recusal. I don't know if you guys can see that I'm being blocked by a button that doesn't let me put it in there. But, oh yeah, that's right, Letso TVO, that's true. This is one glaring difference. Hold on, I want to put this up here because you're absolutely right, Letso TVO. And that shows you how terrible it is for Chile that on 2 misdemeanors, Chile went away for 6 months. And on 20-something convictions for felonies, Donald Trump walked. And I think that shows you the disparity in treatment in judicial districts and in parties. Remember that. Remember, the people who have that public perception, the judge is a political animal, guys. Remember that. Don't ever let that go. These judges, a lot of them are looking for work at CNN, looking for a job, at some newspaper or doing JDAMs or JAMS mediation. They want to be everyone's friend, be Solomon-esque, and throw up that baby and cut it in half. Always keep your case away from the judge. Always make sure you have a lawyer who knows what they're doing so you can win that case without getting it before a judge. Don't ever let that happen, guys. I keep telling you all that. I mean, sometimes you can't avoid it when you're Trump and they want to put your head on the chopping block, and multi-billionaire corporations like BlackRock don't want you to run for president, right? That's going to be a problem. They're going to use everything in their power to prevent that. Don't put it past them. I mean, they have people at CIA, FBI, revolving door employment where they're working back and forth at Facebook and Google. We found out recently that Google is a creation in part of the CIA itself or something. Didn't somebody give me some comments on that? Somebody throw me a link on Team ME. I want to see that on Team MPE. All right, let's move on. And again, I showed you all this earlier. We've got an all Democrat jury pool. I mean, if you look at the percentage difference between the number of Democrats and Republicans in Manhattan, where the jury pool is made up, it turns out to 147.506%. And I do have a little map there for y'all to look at. By the way, tell me if you like this better. I did the video today to look like iPhone format instead of the horizontal. Somebody told me most people watch these on their phones and that it would look better on this format. So let me know what y'all think. Tell me, someone in the sidebar, give me a bunch of ones if you like this format better in the vertical, and give me a bunch of twos if you like it better in the horizontal. Tell me what y'all think. And I agree with Letso TVO. I think that really shows a two-tier justice system. And I know a lot of people that come into my stream hate Trump. I get it. So I'm not sitting here trying to defend him in the sense that he's innocent or guilty, but I am showing you that clearly the charges were brought for political reasons and they have the appearance of political persecution, which serves to divide this nation, that's the problem that I have. I just hope that you see the nuances and what I'm trying to achieve here with my audience. I'm not trying to create any kind of political backlash or friction between my audience and I. You have the right to believe and support whoever you want. Thank you, Ralph. Here we go. Most all cases are won through interrogatory and discovery. And I would say that is absolutely, without question, the truth. And discovery is a big part of my game. Sub rosa is a big part of my game. I like to have my opponents followed around for a couple weeks and have them filmed before I do the things that I need to do. And it's a great way to win. You always have the upper hand. Make sure everybody, whether in life or whether in law, always be the predator and never be the prey, and always carry. So now the next thing here is, so Lenny, that is true. Every president has a Secret Service agent for life. And that that is going to be a major constitutional crisis trying to lock Trump up, because he's going to be entitled to have his Secret Service there with him. So imagine how that's going to work out. So there's a lot of things going, and Let's OTVO is on the money. I'm with them, and I got no issues at all. I love it that I have somebody who doesn't like the orange Jesus. That we have a sleeping orange Jesus. Oh man, you guys are something. So, all right. So the jury instructions. A lot of people made a bunch of stink about the jury instructions. Now, typically in my cases in California, my jury gets copies of the jury instructions. It looks like New York has a rule where they can avoid giving them to the jury, which makes no sense to me. But in this case, it's pretty clear that this was like a hangman's jury to most critical thinkers. And I'm not even going to give that serious thought. I would be curious if they were polled to see how they voted and why they voted. If anybody knows, put that in the sidebar. So Trump can appeal if he or she believes. Trump can appeal if he believes there's been a misstatement in jury instructions. But the Manhattan court released the text of the jury instructions, and the jurors did not have access to those. So apparently that's not a problem according to all the talking heads on CNN. Now, what about the tainted witnesses? That's a big problem. Well, there's a lack of evidence that directly ties Trump to the case. Hence, the jurors can't really rely on Attorney Cohen since he's a convicted serial liar. Remember that this case was built to a large degree on a convicted felon lawyer liar who allegedly is the guy who Trump used to cover up this illegal love affair with a porn star. And the porn star is also tainted because apparently she's been untruthful a bunch of times. So she's not reliable. She's not reliable as a corroborative source of evidence, but under the law, under the jury instructions, it says that he is unreliable because he participated in a crime. So you don't have to just accept him. You can look at the other witnesses. So look at the porn star instead. So there's just a lot of problems that make people not take the court or this case seriously. Put it in the comments. Give me a bunch of ones if you really take this case seriously, or give me a bunch of twos if you think this was a political persecution. I'm curious to see what my audience has to say, because I think that even the people who hate him that are on my channel probably look at it as a political persecution. I think you guys are smart enough and intelligent enough to be able to think that way. Now, I'm just going to go back here. So it looks like we've been on this bad chicken for a little bit over an hour. Hate going that long, guys, but I had a lot of things that I wanted to cover with you. So let me go over into the sidebar really quick and just try to answer any questions that I can. CNN. So Brick Jonesy says CNN Commie News Network. And that is so hilarious because so many people think that. And sort of, you know what it reminds me of is CNN is sort of like the frauditor people. Without Chile de Castro, without Chile de Castro, the frauditors don't get any traffic. They don't get any clicks or likes, right? Well, he's locked up. Without Donald Trump, CNN doesn't get any clicks or likes, and they're like on their death's bed. They're like out of oxygen. So it's just funny to see how there's like a whole parasitic movement built on trying to destroy other people's lives. Now, so Anthony Evans says maybe Trump isn't who you think he is. Well, Anthony, I think I have a pretty good idea who he is. I think that he is a really arrogant, egomaniac, kind of a dick. And I think that he was able to successfully use a coalition of Christians, pro-Second Amendment people, and to a large degree libertarians, and a lot of traditional conservative Democrats like unions, and a lot of blacks who support the concept of the Second Amendment and understood that he was going to start pulling people out of jail, which he did do, and protect our borders from people who were invading their neighborhoods. And I think that I understand all those parts of him. And I also think that he made a lot of mean tweets that made a lot of people really upset. I get it. I do. And I feel your pain, Anthony. I really do, man. And Jason, isn't it a little bit of both? Probably, brother. Yeah. That's right, Lenny. Always be the predator, never be the prey. That's right. Because there's only two options sometimes out there in the jungle, right? And I encourage all of you to learn self-defense, learn safety, learn firearm safety, learn how to clean your weapons, learn how to keep them lubricated, oiled, learn how to store them safely and properly away from children who are not properly trained, and to make sure to always observe your surroundings, always know where you are, and always look cool. If any of those ever fail, always look cool. Like, so make sure you got your tactical glasses, make sure you got the right rig, make sure you got, I recommend, you front carry. I don't like the rear carry. It's too hard sometimes to get access. Come on out and train with me sometime. We could do some CQB, set up some 2x4s, try to create like our own shoot house. Now, Lenny Malley, I know what you're saying that, excuse me, Lenny Malley, you're saying they didn't have the actual instructions. So I did have my team do some research on it. And it looks like in New York, there's a way the judge can get out of giving them giving the jury instructions. Sometimes a construction worker comes out of me, sorry guys, and giving the jury instructions to, oh man, to the jury. Now, because I'm not a New York attorney, I don't have the answer. But if any of y'all know a New York attorney who's not like a political hack, have them come on. I'd love to talk to him and try to break down this case, because I think this is a really prime example of an unpopular dude who is politically targeted, and it can happen to you too. And I'm telling you guys, this was a big mistake what's going on here. And it looks like a bunch of millennials. They just went ahead and brought their campus culture into the courthouse. And now this is going to blow up on them, man. It's going to blow up on the country. This is very dangerous what's just happened. And I hope that you all can see it for what it is. Well, yeah, you got to lubricate your firearms, Jim. Come on. At least I'm a 1911 guy, so I always make sure there's plenty of gun oil, because, I know that a light sheet of gun oil, not too much, but yeah, I do. And I still use CLP. Even though it takes the bluing off, still do that. All right. So yeah, Cohen was a big liar. We all know that, but the jury instruction says you don't have to take him seriously. But we know that that's, a lot of that stuff is just so political. And when you've got a far left jury who just wants to hang the guy, what do you think is going to happen? Come on. At least that's what a lot of people say. So Brick says 2 wolves passing, growl or fight, civil decorum or rules of engagement. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Well, trust me, when I first, tried my first couple of cases, I was very confrontational, and I realized that it wasn't going to get me anywhere. And it pisses off the jury too, because they don't like you. So you really have to listen and really be a good person. You have to come off as a good person if you want to sway a jury. You can't be a jerk. You just can't do it, guys. Don't do it. And take those lessons to life, even when you're dealing with cops, because ultimately, if they do break the law and violate your rights, I want to be able to win money for you. Okay, so what's this? Benny Johnson has more subscribers than watches than CNN. That's funny. Hey, thanks, Wanda. Good seeing you. So, guys, I've gone for a little over an hour. Is there anything you guys want to ask me about the Trump case or anything in particular? Or do you have any suggestions for videos or live streams you'd like me to cover in the near future? Remember, we're still in the topics of contract law for the people who want to learn more about the law study stuff. So we covered formation and enforcement last time, but we could do another lawyer reaction video if you want. If somebody has a video you want me to go over that has to do with like dealership fraud, or somebody lied to at a bank, something like that, where you have maybe somebody got ripped off at a car repair shop, right? You've got some videotape and you can prove it, and you want me to do a reaction video, I can do that. Something that has to do with contract law. I don't want to get into criminal law yet. We do criminal law videos all the time, because that's pretty much all these audit videos end up being is an illegal arrest or the cop enforcing some kind of a criminal law. I'm pretty sure you guys know a lot about that, but contract law is super important. And I believe it is the nexus and the basis of all law, because there's also a social contract. And when you understand contract law, It gives you a better idea of how to understand, interpret, and enforce contracts when you're dealing with them in the real world. So let me look in the sidebar real quick. So Jason wants to talk about trust law. Well, I could bring on one of my trust law buddies. What kind of trust you want to talk about? You want to talk about living trusts, irrevocable trusts, revocable trusts, pour over trusts? Just let me know. You can also contact BZ Watchdog and let him know. He kind of helps me arrange some of this stuff because I'm so buried lately during the week. Now, Ralph says that all crimes are civil in nature and therefore all crimes can be discharged. And there is a body of law that supports that, to be honest. And that's something that we should definitely do a video about. I think that's actually hey, Miss Constitutional Rights. I don't understand why people are going independent. I don't know either, Miss Constitutional Rights. All I know is that, well, Christopher asks, do you think all the charges are bogus? And I'll be honest, Christopher, if I felt that the process had been fair from the start, if I felt that the process didn't have the appearance of impropriety, in particular the timing, I would have a totally different view of this whole thing. So I just want you to, and I also supported another unpopular prisoner and victim of the government, Chief Eddie Gallagher. Remember him? The Navy SEAL. He was falsely imprisoned and locked up and illegally spied on. His legal team was illegally spied on by the U.S. government. They were trying to get dirt on him during his trial, while they're feeding him bread and water in solitary. So yeah, I have a problem with it. I have a problem with the Jan 6ers being locked up in solitary for like over a year. I got a real problem with that, especially now that we see more and more videotapes and more evidence comes out that there was a lot of political targeting and a lot of behind the scenes things going on that we always find out years later. And so I always want to err on the side of the person who's being prosecuted and persecuted, especially when there's a potential political connotation, especially when we have biased partisan political judges, biased political politician prosecutors, of course. And I think you should all be suspect. And so, yeah, Christopher, I think that if I felt that the process was fair, I would have a totally different opinion of this. So I appreciate your comment, though, brother. And, you know, I hope that it comes from a good place and not just from some partisan political orange man bad thing, because that's not what this whole conversation is about today. All right. Now, bring back mean tweets and show me the money, right? Lenny Molly says, sorry that we hurt your feelings. Well, all right. So, yeah, Brick Jonesy, America for the win. So today we had a really cool discussion and we had a pretty decent turnout considering that it's not exactly a popular topic among First Amendment auditors, right? But it should be popular among people who understand that you guys right now are not popular. And on March 4th, Congress came out with their report that people who don't support the so-called Sovsits, people who buy Bibles, people who shop at Dick's, Cabela's, people who are white males are being targeted as potential domestic violent extremists by the FBI. And by using metadata and public-private partnerships with banks to obviate and avoid getting search warrants. So you're literally being targeted by these the same administrative agencies that are going after Donald Trump, and they're painting you as whack jobs, and they're telling banking institutions, academics, they're being told this by like the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Anti-Defamation League, all these people who don't support natural law, all the same people who hate Donald Trump, and these are all the same people who are targeting you. So that's the only reason I bring these things up. It's not to try and say vote for the orange man. It's to point out that there is a definite administrative state fifth column within this government that is targeting people who believe in traditional American values. And that report was released on March 4th, as I recall. I did a video about it that says, titled, "Can I Sue the FBI for Illegally Labeling Me a Domestic Violent Extremist?" You should take a look at it. I provide screenshots. I provide the links to the official documents You cannot call me a conspiracy theorist for this. All I'm doing is pointing out the obvious, that we have a leviathanic administrative state right now that is going after people who support the Bill of Rights in the concept of freedom. And we know that the people they support at the World Economic Forum say that we do not have natural rights and that we are no different than chimpanzees and hyenas, except, of course, their friends who fly back and forth from Davos in Lear jets. And that's the problem that my audience has that is actually growing, guys, despite the algorithm working against me because of my radical ideas. My audience is still growing, and it's going to continue to grow because there are a lot of people out there who still believe in common sense. Now, Ralph Riley, let's take a look. Slaves vote, free men elect. That's right. And that's another reason why I support the concept of having duly elected sheriffs and having towns set up with people who are like-minded, where you have neighbors who you know, you like, and you trust. And that's why I've always kind of looked up to the Amish and, to a lesser degree, the Mormons. I just think they're good people. They look after their own, and they try not to rely on government. They try to stay away from the government. And I think that's the best approach, because it's like Dracula. Once you let him in, you can never let him out. Don't take the money. Don't do it, guys. I'm telling you from personal experience, don't do it. Now, Ghost Man, thank you again. And thank you again, Miss Constitutional Rights, for coming back and rejoining me. We need all the help that we can get. And I believe you missed the other super chat. Oh, no, crap. Wait, I'm going to get it. Oh, hey, Ralph. So Ralph still thinks that Trump is the commander in chief. And you know what? A lot of people think that that last election was rigged. I mean, they saw the videotapes of the post office trucks bringing in all those ballots at midnight, right? And then kicking out the vote counter, saying there was a leak when there wasn't, to get them out of there, and then putting up big cardboard things to block the poll watchers and trying to come up with all these excuses, and then having the news media back them up and lie for them. And people, frankly, don't trust the news media anymore. That's why I have a bigger audience than CNN, because people don't trust for-profit media. I'm not getting paid by any sponsor. You don't see George Soros throwing millions of dollars at me, right? You guys don't see that. And guess what? Guess what, guys? If he was, you'd see all my content changing overnight, because I'd be like, George Soros is the best. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just joshing you. But you know what I'm saying, because we see a lot of influencers do that, right? They'll become popular. Then all of a sudden they start taking money from the Democrat Party to start supporting candidates. And we're finding out now through all these different ways that they're getting paid off. Republicans probably do it too. They're just not good at it, because they're always out there trying to pretend like they're the most honest party, while they're just getting railroaded by these dudes, man. These ballot harvesters just freaking throwing envelopes into the post box and getting rubber stamped by all these Democrat judges. And it's crazy, man. So let's take a look here. Mr. DLRU. Can you get this case? I'll take a look at it, man. So guys, somebody remind me, I need to take a look at McKenzie versus New York. It's a state Supreme Court case. So I'll take a look at it, but I'm not a New York lawyer. But I'll shepherdize it and see if there's any U.S. Supreme Court or other federal cases that could give it nationwide precedence. That's something you all have to look at. I think what we need to do is do a legal research class together, where I teach you guys how to shepherdize a case from beginning to end. Like, I go to an actual law library, and let me talk to a local law library and see what I can do. But in the meantime, I can teach you quite a bit of stuff online. Now, let me get down to the rest of the questions. Wanda, thank you for coming again. And Watkins Inc., I always love your comments, and I always try to support your company too. I think you've commented here before, give me some super chats. Always make sure to support Watkins Inc., everybody. I'll be honest with y'all, I'm getting kind of hungry. That's right, Grimm's Bear. The media caused the American-Spanish Civil War, Spanish War. Congress cited. That's right. It was a boiler, not a bomb. That's right, man. And we see that happening all the time. We saw that with Gulf of Tonkin. That didn't even happen, and that got us into a war where my dad ended up contracting poisoning from Agent Orange. We were lied to, and and all the hippies were right, but they treated our vets and our soldiers like garbage, and that's why the military and the left hate each other so much. But at the end of the day, we were both lied to by our government. Just remember, all you lefties who spit on those Marines who were coming home, they thought they were fighting for you. And just remember that. And a lot of those guys, especially my father and those vets from today, modern vets, they know that they still hate Jane Fonda because she was a traitor. And you just don't turn your back on your fellow Americans. You present a united front to the world, and then behind the doors, you air out your dirty laundry. That's how you do it. Just take my word for it. That's the right way. That's the right approach. Now, Miss Constitutional Rights, thank you again for contributing to the conversation. And then Ralph Riley, yeah, every war except the Revolutionary War was all fake. I would have to agree. That's probably true. Yeah. Man, it's just so cool. Hey, now BZ Watchdog looks like he just joined us. Now, everybody, I want you to everybody make sure to go to BZ Watchdog's channel and like and subscribe. He has been getting like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 views on these post office videos. He's killing it. And I want you to continue supporting him, and I want you to continue supporting his business. He sells self-defense products, I believe. So make sure, even if you don't need something, get it for a friend and support him, because his content's real good. And he's done a really good job at helping out, monitoring the sidebar and just controlling all these trolls and just whack job weirdos, man. I mean, Jiminy Christmas, where are these people coming from? That's right. So Jason Rendon says, can't super chat on iPhone. Well, I can't figure it out. Just found you today. I will subscribe. Well, Jason, I appreciate that. We got a contribution of $5, which I'll put towards the Gunner Belt Fund. And we'll move that up towards getting his black belt. And as you guys know, I'm trying to get Gunner into the Olympics. I want to get him on the Olympic team. That's my goal. Of course, the father's goal is never usually the goal of the son. But my trump card is that his mama, he just loves his mama. And she is just a sweetheart, dotes over him. So there's a chance that he might do it for her. So all you dads, make sure to treat your woman good, because the son's usually going to have a good relationship with the mom, and you'll get a lot more with sugar than you will with salt. Trust me, trying to throw your weight around with a young man, familiarity has already bred enough contempt between the father and the son. In the Viking culture, you would send your son out once you reach teenage years to train as a warrior under like an uncle or one of your neighbors, one of those kind of things, because of the friction between father and son. It just doesn't make a good match to do warrior training. It's true. Now, to the front of the line, BZ said he forwarded my information and you haven't reached out. Well, if that's the case, I will reach out right away. I didn't even know it. So everybody just understand something. I have been in depositions and mediations hardcore for the last 2 weeks, super solid, and I'm completely fried, like burned out. But I'm going to reach out to BZ because Ralph is a priority to me. And I actually want to do a lawyer reaction video because Ralph's got some pretty cool videos on his channel. He's not like a crazy YouTuber or whatever, but he's got some cool stuff. And I just have a lot of respect for Ralph because he's able to walk in both worlds and communicate with me and not treat me like, oh, you're just a barb, just this and that. Like, he understands the precarious situation that I'm in. I think that spiritually he understands that my goals are so that I'm able to, I think he understands. I know I got muted out. I think he understands the relationship that I have, where we think enough alike that he knows that I'm a free man upon the land, and that's how I think. And that you have to use the system from within in order to achieve freedom. And that's something that Martin Luther King understood, something that our founding fathers tried to do, and unfortunately, ultimately, they couldn't do without a revolution. Oh, Ralph says I'm fired. Sorry, man. Where is Ralph's link, by the way? Oh, yeah. Somebody put, Ralph, can you put your channel in the sidebar for these guys? I don't. That's right. Yeah, she has pretty much. Yeah, so she's definitely made the house rules. Um, basically work your butt off, make sure the bills are paid, and if you want to play on YouTube, make it to where the kids can use it as a learning moment, and so you're not just wasting time, because she's expecting me to tutor them and teach them history and things like that. So doing these videos, it actually is pretty cool because they're actually learning history and getting to see a real lawyer point out some things to you and sort of break some things down, and as a result you guys get to participate in that as well. So it's pretty awesome, actually. Okay, so Brick Jonesy, that's Ralph Riley. Brick Jonesy just put up Ralph Riley's link. Stand by. For some reason, I'm not able to click on these links through StreamYard, which is the streaming service that I use, which sucks. But Ralph's always been cool in supporting me, and so I'm really cool with that. Brick's always been cool in supporting me. It's always the people that have some kind of a connection with like a military sort of an understanding, a martial sort of experience. We just get along. It's almost like we're kindred spirits, and I really appreciate that. Now, Jessica Kyrie says she homeschooled and worked. And look, I think that if you can do it, it's the way to go. I don't think your kids need to be socialized by the blue-haired mafia. I don't think that socialization, I think that is political brainwashing, and I think it's child abuse. You should not be sexualizing kindergartners or talking about sex or having rainbow flags hanging all over the classroom. It's insane. That's my personal view as a father and as an American and somebody who's got skin in the game, somebody who is willing to put his life down for the country. And so I feel like I have some authority to say the things that I say on this particular topic. So, April Rain, I love it. So, for my mod one, you guys are all awesome. So, all right. So, look, I want to thank everyone for showing up. Miss Constitutional Rights, again, thank you for coming back and being there for us. And then thanks, BZ Watchdog. Everybody go to support BZ Watchdog's channel. Make sure to give him a bunch of views. Make sure to share this with people too, so people can kind of get an understanding of where I'm coming from on unpopular people and the political targeting of your neighbors and friends. It's coming. It's coming, guys. And this was the precedent. This has now opened the floodgates to the political targeting of anyone that the deep state and the administrative state hates. Watch it happening before your eyes in real time. It's only going to get worse, and it's ultimately going to lead to a very, very dark place that's, I think, that we're not going to recover, guys. Unless there's a miracle, I just can't imagine us recovering from this as a country. This has turned our republic on its head. We are now a banana republic officially, according to many. Now, and I do appreciate all you supporters, and then, oh, look, life. Okay, so I guess I'll try to. So somebody said life down on the country. Okay, I'm getting a lot of questions. Okay, why was I not able to finish my training in the Marine Corps? I guess that's the question. Everybody already knows why, but we'll say it again. So I was injured during MCT, which unfortunately I was the very first series to go through MCT, and just about the time we were going to graduate, I blew my knee out and I was not able to graduate and walk with my class. Instead, I was sent directly to SOI, which is where I was supposed to go. See, originally school infantryman, because I was a volunteer grunt, I was supposed to be a rifleman 0311. Originally, SOI guys were not supposed to go through MCT, but for whatever reason, we were the very first series and they made us go through MCT. So I got injured at MCT. Did not graduate with MCT because I was injured, and instead was sent to SOI on crutches. And so I went through SOI on crutches, and then whenever they did marches, I rode in the back of a truck. And when they graduated SOI, because I was not able to complete all the training with them, I just was sent to a medical platoon. And that's why I ended up at the 52 area for so long, like almost 9 months or something. 8 months, long time. So anyways, that's the story. That's what really happened. And besides that, let's see here. Thanks, April Rain, for coming out again. And hey, Brick Jonesy, you're funny, man. Yeah. So you can see the DWC guys. He's just another one of these people who's just a complete idiot. So you can go ahead and zap him whenever you want. But I do appreciate the the moderators and them making sure that we don't have a bunch of complete morons in here. Now, I hope you all kind of got an understanding of what's going on, though, with respect to the weaponization of administrative agencies, in particular the courts. And there is a large portion of the population in this country who does not have faith in the FBI, the CIA, or the courts. They basically think it's just another branch of the Democrat Party, especially in California. And you see like over 500,000 people recently just fleeing California, in part because of that, because they see it's a single party Leviathan and the rights of parents are being overlooked. You know, that Harvey Milk Day, like a known pedophile, they create a special day for him. And so parents are freaking out, man. They're leaving. And you see that happening all over the place. And so all I'm saying is that we all need to stand tall for parents and families, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and try to create parallel systems where you do business with trustworthy, honest people who you care about, and try to build a parallel system that way, guys. Now, does anybody have any questions in the sidebar about this particular case or about any issues that I may have missed that you want me to cover? I'll just take a look over here right now. Now, Ralph Riley, apparently you've got a video. I'm going to take a look at it, and I'll be in touch with you as well. I didn't know that you had forwarded your info. I'm sure you did. BZ is legit. You know, if he says he'll do it, he'll do it. April Rain, I love it that you come to my channel. I hope you share it with all your friends, because there's not a whole lot of lawyers out there who are willing to go out on a limb and talk about things that really matter. You know, they're so political and so brainwashed by these academic institutions, almost to like hate their country. You know, it's just weird. It's like a whole educational system designed to pit against itself, to work against itself. It's just insane to me. Put it in the comments if you think that we should get rid of all these colleges and stop giving them federal money. They're just like a big cancer. I mean, what are you going to do with a degree in underwater basket weaving or African American studies? I mean, are you really going to make money with that? Why are we giving $100,000 loans for that to people, and then forgiving the loans in exchange for votes? I'm just puzzled by it. You know, and I really like San Joaquin Transparency. I've reached out to him before. I think we've chatted a few times. That is a legit cop watcher, and I can tell that San Joaquin has that spirit. Like, that's a legit, like, warrior mentality. Like legitimately, spiritually believes in what they're fighting for. I really, really like San Joaquin. I want everybody, please promise me right now, everybody in this chat right now, all 66 of you, go over to San Joaquin Transparency, like and subscribe their first couple of videos, subscribe to them, and let them know that Michael Ehline said to like and subscribe, and that we support what you guys are doing. Because I really, really like that guy. I just think that guy is like legit. Like, if I was a young man, that's the kind of dad I'd want to have. You know, those are the kind of dudes you got to look up to. Like, people who are defined, unrelenting, and people who just won't give up. That's because we don't stop. Put it in the sidebar. We don't stop, and give me some exclamation points. We don't stop. Right on, the classic one. And yeah, I love it. Thanks, Letzo TVO. You're faster than me. Now, we don't stop. That's right. Thanks, guys. You guys rock, man. Bay Area Transparency. Yeah, you know, well, I think, isn't Bay Area the guy that went out of business? I don't know, but I like San Joaquin. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true, Mama Lion. And I agree with Jonesy. The world needs ditch diggers, and that's how I got my start. I work construction, digging ditches, working construction in the summers. I can build a house from the ground up. I can dig the forms. I can pour them. I know how to lay in all the steel, everything. Put up the rough, do the finish, drywall, plumbing. I've done it all, guys. And I was a legitimate contractor, C47, a specialist, a manufactured housing, so I could do on-site electrical and on-site manufacturing of homes. So again, one of the things about law is it was almost I had to learn it because of all the contracts and all the problems with homeowners associations and local governments, building departments. It was almost like a no-brainer to get a law license, almost like you're dumb not to get one. Put a bunch of ones in the comments if you think it's almost dumb not to have a law license in this modern legalistic society that we live in. Good news is y'all can come to me. Yeah, that's true. I sure can. I sure can cut stairs and put up roofs. Absolutely. I can angle. I know how to use a saw. I can angle cut. And I can do finish work too. And I've done custom stairwell work on the William Lyons estate. And that was, I think it was Coto de Casa in Laguna Hills or Laguna Niguel as a youngster. And I also studied painting under Edmund P. Barth, and he was the guy who painted Old Town at Disneyland when I was young. My dad had me work with him for several summers, and I learned how to do marbleizing, where you can make a make a drywall column look like marble. So yeah, man. I even work with the plaster guys. I learned how to make plaster forms, so you can make all the different columns to make them look Greek or Roman. So yeah, Ralph, I can do all that stuff, and I'm hoping to God I can get my kid out there doing construction work, because I think it's super important for young boys to learn plumbing and electric, get their hands messed up digging ditches. The smell of soil, it's primordial. It's part of the experience of becoming a man. It's what separates us from the girls. It's what makes the girls want us. It's what makes you attractive to the young woman when you're out there digging that ditch, getting sweaty. It's primordial. It goes deep down into thousands of years of DNA. She's going, that is somebody who can protect me. That is somebody who will be able to provide for me. Think about that. It's an amazing thing. So I'm with you guys. And now, where can we buy your book and how much is it? And is it a hard copy? Right now, all I have, guys, is I have a digital version. It's $19.99, and I'll give it to you for like $10. But you'll have to contact me through my website, and I'll give you my PayPal, and you can just send me the PayPal and I'll send you the digital copy. And when I get a hard copy, I'll give you a break on the hard copy. I'm getting hard copies made. I wanted to have it re-edited before I had the hard copies made. You know what I'm saying? Just in case, because once it's hard, it can't be edited at all. But it's a pretty cool book, and I do go into a lot of cool things. So yeah, for like the first 10 people who reach out to me by tomorrow, I'll give you a copy of my book for digital copy for $10 a piece. How's that sound? That way I don't have to be like waiting for orders to come in. If you give them all to me by like tomorrow at noon, I can have my daughter help me get them out. If you want to do that, I'll send you my PayPal contact info and you can shoot me. If you want to do that, Amazon, that would be dope. Yeah, I'd love it if you guys could learn a little bit about it, because I do want to start teaching a class, at least like maybe a private course, like once a week. We'll start out, we'll continue on with contracts, and then we'll go into torts, and then we'll get into criminal law and then criminal procedure. We'll do a little bit of remedies along with the contracts as well, because I want you to learn a little bit about injunctive relief and things like that. Now, that's right. The ultimate goal is to get to the point that you don't have to do it for yourself, but you can. And that is me, Jessica. That sounds like what I wrote in my book, actually. So the ultimate goal is that, and this is why I became so successful as a lawyer, because I knew marketing, because my background was sales and marketing. And so because I was an SEO guy, I understood all these things. And ultimately I was able to get other people to come on board to help me do things and do it, with the SEO and multiplying that. Now, let's see here. What else do we have? Now he knows who to call a contractor. More and more guys, I almost like it harkens to me. Sometimes I feel like when I drive by a job site and I see someone, with a tractor or something digging trenches, I can smell the soil. You can see the dust and smell the soil, and it just instantly brings back memories. Or like, when you walk through a freshly sticked home, when they just put the sticks up, the framers put up all the wood, and you walk through and you smell that freshly cut, the fresh wood smell, that pine smell. Man, there's something about that brings back those memories of my youth when I was strong. Yeah, so really great stuff. Now, you guys are talking, I know you're going to call a contractor to build my home. Yeah, I know how to call one. That's true. But I really don't want to do it, but I will. Now, just keep in mind, guys, it's been a long time since I've swung a hammer. And although I have calluses from lifting weights, I'll probably lose like all the. So what ends up happening is you'll lose most of the skin on your hands. As soon as you grab that shovel, I would say within about 3 hours, all this skin right here is going to be gone. Hold on. That's all going to be gone right there. And then you'll lose all this right here. Put a bunch of ones in the comments if you men know what I'm talking about who've dug ditches. Yeah, Brick Jones, you always bring up stuff that like gives me these mental, what do they call them? Emotional anchoring. Can't remember now, but. Oh, I ignored a super chat. What the hell? Hold on, let me look. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, brother. So Ralph Riley is actually mentoring 2 attorneys. And I believe that. And I'll be honest, guys, I was a paralegal before I was a lawyer. And I worked for many lawyers who did not know how to do some of the stuff that I could do, which is complex litigation and appellate work. So I actually helped a couple of civil litigators do appellate work because they didn't know how. And so I know where you're coming from, bro. And being a lawyer it's kind of impressive. I mean, especially if you're not one, because it's really hard to pass the bar exam. But being a good lawyer is very rare. And to me, being a good lawyer doesn't just mean that you won a bunch of money at trial. It means that you were able to be a good counselor, that you were able to help your client work through and resolve their problem. You see, the client overall needs to decide the strategy, like their strategic goals, but ultimately it's my job as the lawyer to decide the tactics. And a good lawyer is going to be an excellent tactician. And that has always been my strength, is being a good tactician at law. And so that's another reason why I like to teach you with examples and explanations, because it teaches you how to think better tactically. And ultimately, guys like Ralph, he has devoted a great deal of his time into trying to mentor other lawyers and teach other people what he thinks justice in the law is, based upon his research and the evidence that he's found. And ultimately, when enough people start thinking like Ralph and parallel systems are built, then ultimately the old way of thinking will come back, which is honor, decency, republic. We're not a democracy, folks. We are a constitutional republic. So thank you, Ralph, for reminding me about the super chat. I'm sorry, brother. I'm just tired. All right. So let me just, never cup the thumb if you haven't been shoveling much. That's right. What's kind of cool about the guys on my channel is, unlike these young guys who spent their whole life with their face buried in a cell phone, when we were young, we went out riding on bicycles. And I was even in Thrasher magazine, on my skateboard at the Blowhole in Yorba Linda. And we used to skate, and we're out doing fun stuff all the time. And they don't do that anymore. They don't have any contact with nature. And it just seems odd, because we spend our childhoods preparing to not spend time with nature. At least that's what we did when we grew up, right? We literally prepared our lives outside, having fun, sneaking out, going out with our buddies, spent all that time preparing for being locked in an office all day. And now we're locked in an office all day, being prepared to be locked in an office all day. And it just seems really unfair to these young kids. All right. So Brick Jones, he says, the absolute best book for young boys, Mike Mulligan and the Steam Shovel. I'll check it out, man. I'll have my son take a look at it. All right. So BZ, when is Trump getting sentenced? Well, that's it. So BZ says, get a better Republican in there. And so here, my position is, I don't think that he ever really was a Republican. I think that he governed like a liberal Democrat, except when it came to the Second Amendment and secure borders. But other than that, he was no different than a liberal Democrat. I mean, I know he pissed a lot of people off on Roe, but really all that happened is it was just returned back to the states. The federal government wasn't supposed to be deciding that, and that was just bad law, and it got reversed, and now the states can decide. But the big losers were tax subsidized organizations like Planned Parenthood that were making millions of dollars and donating almost all of their political donations to Democrats. So just follow the money and you'll see why people are upset. Now, yeah, I was a thrasher. I was a ghost man. I was a skate punk. I had a purple Lester with purple and black B-52s. And my uncle owned Wind and Sea surfboards in Huntington. And I used to stay not every summer, but pretty much a lot of summers at his surf shop, and slept up in the loft and got up at dark 30 every morning and went surfing. And it was super fun. Yeah. And would skate right in front of his shop and piss people off, But I did street and I did some pipe. Yeah. I'll find out who Mike Mulligan is. I don't know who all these people are, guys. I came back to YouTube. I used to do a lot of search engine optimization stuff back in the day. And I just kind of stopped doing YouTube because all my competitors were just using all my advice to rip me off. But then when my buddy started getting into trouble with the authorities out in Nevada, who, by the way, a guy who I've been helping with out in California with some legal matters, I decided, I'm going to come on and speak on his behalf because I think that he's getting a raw deal. And he's an unpopular guy, just like Trump is an unpopular guy. And so I decided I'd start supporting him. I wasn't expecting this to be so political, like, oh, you're supporting someone who's it's like, no, I'm supporting a philosophy of less government means more freedom. And this guy's taken on the Leviathan, and nobody else has the balls to do it, or very few people do. So naturally, being with my background and pro limited government point of view, he's the perfect guy that I would want to support. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys feel the same way. Yeah, thanks, Biz Constitutional Rights. I'm glad that you do. Everybody should pray for people they care about. It's important. Spiritual energy's there. Frequency, vibration, it's real, guys. Yep. So yeah, so Ghostman says he skated to school, but he spelled skated wrong, but that's cool. Yeah, no, I was a skate punk. So Mike Ness from Social Distortion played in my neighbor's garage, and my neighbor also still to this day plays in a punk band, my old neighbor. And years later, I got to meet Mike Ness again when I managed the LA Boxing in Costa Mesa. So I managed this boxing gym, and he came in and he was doing the cardio boxing classes. And then he started doing private lessons, I think, with Mike Costanza and Sean McCulley. And he always had this really cool, like low rider, gray car from the 50s with the dice ball things. And he was a cool guy, man. I mean, I had no problem with Mike Ness. I've heard a lot of people said that he was a jerk or whatever, but that was probably back when he was partying. When I met him, he was clean, and he was in shape, and he was working out, and he was slow to speak. Good guy. I liked him. That's right. We have to pray. That's our weapon. The older I get, the more I believe that, Miss Constitutional Rights. There's nothing wrong with believing in God and believing in a higher power and wanting salvation and all that. All that's all good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Now, yeah, I love that 50s look. Yeah. Pretty chilly. Scattered. BZ watchdog. All right. So, yeah, we've been in here for a while. Now I feel like I'm Chili de Castro #2 after being in here almost 2 hours. So look, guys, I'm going to go get some chow. I hope at least you guys understand now what's going on. There is a chance that Trump could get the case reversed at the state level, but it's going to be hard because New York is very hardcore leftist, partisan, almost Marxist Democrat. So it's going to be a tough road for him because we know that leftist courts have been very open about being activist. And so because of that, it's going to be a tough road for him. Now, he might have some luck with ethics, but again, the New York bar, very left wing. So a lot of people are saying it doesn't look good at the state level. Now, there may be some kind of relief for him at the federal level, especially if some of this other evidence that we're finding out about comes forth about illegal payoffs and behind the scenes payments with prosecutors and other court officials to move this case forward. So we'll see where it goes, but it doesn't look good for the Republic. It looks like it's politically motivated to at least half the country. And because of that, it will never be accepted as valid by at least half the country. And it's going to lead to a lot of problems. And I believe this is why this has never happened in the past, because I believe that the older generation, the non-millennial thinkers, the non-Marxist collegial thinker types, like academic thinker types, knew had enough wisdom to know back then that if they did that, it could lead to a potential violent problem in the country or just a complete distrust of the government to where government no longer functions, like what happened to Rome, basically. And a lot of people say that's what the globalists want, like mission accomplished. I don't know, but I hope you learned something, and I hope you see that I'm not here stumping for anyone. I just wanted to throw out an example of an unpopular guy getting railroaded by the system for unpopular beliefs. And I appreciate that, Amazon. And I will, like I said, if you guys want to get a copy of my book, the first 10 people that ask me for a copy by noon tomorrow, I'll give you a copy of it for $10. Okay? Deal. And that's all going to my kids. So I'm not making any money off of it. It's just for them. And I'm teaching them how to be entrepreneurs. Already got my daughter writing her first book. She likes anime, so she's writing a book about that. So we'll see. Maybe she can monetize a channel about anime. Who knows? You just want them to be happy, right? Of course, you'd love them to be lawyers and take on after your footsteps, but if they're not happy, that's not what you want. So I will let's OTVO. Absolutely, brother. All right, so give me a bunch of OTVOs, and then I am going to go grab some chow. And yeah, you might see me tomorrow. I'm just trying to think, like, what should I talk about tomorrow? Well, somebody send me an email about something I could talk about tomorrow. If you got a reaction video or something that you think would be fun. With that being said, make sure to like and subscribe, because you never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel, and you know they probably will. Semper Fi, do